host an office hour just for charter schools. It'd be a little smaller group. So if you have any questions, please feel free to stop us. We'll be happy to answer those questions. You can just come off of mute, raise your hand. I can't see you when I'm presenting, so my colleagues will tell me if anybody has a question. So, are we ready? Struggling today. Here we go. As always, we ground everything in our best for all strategies, and today we're strictly talking about educators, which support the other two areas. So what we're going to talk about today, we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about finalizing LOEs, entering your final achievement scores, and entering some custom feeder growth scores if you have them. We've got some resources. We're going to spend a little time talking about what we need to be doing for next year, and then share some support things we have for you. So we're going to start talking about achievement measure scores. And so achievement measure scores are entered by the district. So the only achievement measure scores that will automatically populate NT and Compass are TVAS composites. So all of the other scores are entered by the district. So the state assessments, a lot of people get confused thinking state assessments will automatically load. The state assessments are going to be success rates, which is very simply the percent of students who meet or exceed expectations on TCAP test. Then we have all the off-the-shelf assessments, graduation rate, ACT, early post-secondary exams, industry certification, and then the TVAS custom feeder options. If you have a school that doesn't generate its own TVAS, you have to choose the custom feeder option, and you have to upload that score. And we will talk about how you get those scores in just a minute. So to check for missing measures, to see if your teachers have not generated LOEs, you're going to want to go into T and Compass, go to the Reports tab, and select the Evaluation Scores by Educator report. From that report, make sure you go to the 22-23 school year. No LOEs have generated for 23-24. You're going to select your location. Most of the time when you go there, it's going to pop up. It's just going to be your schools listed there. There should be a check mark already there. And then select Excel and hit generate. It'll download you a spreadsheet, and you're going to want to look for blanks in columns AI, which is an achievement measure score. If you don't have a score in AI, you want to look at AK to see what the category, and AL to see what the type is. If those are blanks, you have to put a category, you have to put a measure selection in there first. AS and AR will tell you the growth score and the growth score measure. So if you have blanks for the scores, check to make sure they have a measure selection. Also check any teachers that should have been marked as PYE. Those are partial year exemptions, teachers that did not work for at least 121 days in your schools. So to enter the achievement measure scores, when you find missing ones, there are two ways you can do it. You can use an administrative edit from the individual's profile page. If you've just got one or two, you may want to do it this way. Or you can upload using the import wizard in T and Compass. If you have multiple scores, I suggest using the import wizard. To use the import wizard, you go to the administration tab, click on the import wizard under data management. It'll pull up a screen. You may not have all of these options, but you will have an option under evaluation data. You will choose the evaluation component scores. This is to upload scores. Click continue. Again, make sure in the 22-23 school year, continue. You will select your schools. If you want to download it for all schools, select all of the check marks. If you want to just work with one school at a time, if you have multiple schools, just check that school and hit generate template. It will generate a template that looks like this. You will have make sure your academic year is 22-23. You've got your district ID, teacher license numbers, names, and what type, if they're a teacher or an administrator. Column F will show you if they are marked as PYE. Nobody on this sheet is marked as PYE. Column I has an observation rubric score. Everybody has to have an observation score. Column J is where you would enter an achievement score. And column K, if you use the student survey, the scores would be there. So if you're putting in your achievement measure scores, you're going to put those in column J for each teacher. Save the spreadsheet. Leave it the same name that it downloads as. Go back. You're going to hit I already have a template and hit continue. You're going to import that file, the one that you just worked on. You're going to choose it from wherever you saved it. I typically save it on my desktop just to get to it quickly, and then hit continue. You will go through two processes after that. There'll be a validate process where it will tell you if there are any errors. So if you put in an achievement measure score of 3.25, it's going to give you an error. An achievement measure score has to be a whole number between 1 and 5. An observation score can have a decimal. And then it will process, and it'll tell you that it was processed successfully. Those scores should be entered. It takes it a few minutes. Those scores will get entered. And if that's the only measure missing, your teacher's LOE should generate. So some troubleshooting tips here. If there's no measure selection for an educator, then you have to make that selection using an administrative edit. So if a teacher does not have a growth measure selection, you will have to put that in using an administrative edit. If a TVAS score, either for achievement or growth, is not populating, you need to make sure that the school actually generated that score. If a teacher is staffed at more than one school, there must be a master school set. That's very simple. You just go to their record, and there will be where their name and their information is, there will be a button that says Set Master School. It's a blue button. You're going to want to check to make sure the selected measure is a school level measure. If the educator is staffed as system-wide and only system-wide, then they have to have an LEA measure selected. And then the custom feeder options, you have to upload those scores. So to finalize the LOEs after you get them all generated, again, missing selections have to be put in, and they can be entered from the wizard. You are going to pin the evaluations. Your administrator has to sign one first to complete it, and then the educator can sign it. It's at the bottom of the page. If your administrators forget your pin, if you click forgot pin, it will show you your number. And then once that happens, it will open up for the teacher to sign, and they have the same option if they forget their pin numbers. Once it's completed, it tells you when the educator can complete it. I just told you all of this. There are two resources here for finalizing. These are on the team website. There is a evaluation signatures user guide, and the 22-23 evaluation composite weighting will tell you the percentages of each measure for your teachers. So let's spend just a minute talking about growth measure selections for 23-24. So we're moving to this current year now. You should be also working on these at this time. So every teacher must have a growth measure selection in T-Encompass. That's going to be a school-wide measure. For most educators, it's going to be school-wide TVAS composite. A custom feeder option is only available for teachers in schools who do not generate. If your school generates a TVAS composite, they have to use one from your school. So if you have a K-3 school and your third grade generates TVAS, that they have to use a TVAS composite from your school, which will only be based on third grade. The measure should be aligned as closely as possible to what the educator teaches. So if I'm a self-contained classroom, teach multiple subjects, a school-wide composite is applicable to me. If I just teach ELA, then the school-wide literacy composite could be used for me. That is a district decision. Teachers staffed in multiple schools For charters, this is not applicable because you do not generate a charter. You don't generate a district measure. I'm sorry. So your teachers in multiple schools have to select a master school, and they will select a measure from that school. So resources for growth measure selections are on the team website under the tab of growth measures, and the information is down at the bottom under resources. These are just a snippet of some of the resources. On the right, there are calculations for the LOE calculations percentages for 23, 24. They are the same as they were for this year. That did not change. And then there are a list of different types of growth measure selections. You've got individual TVAS scores, individual student growth portfolio, and individual state board approved universal reading screener scores. Those are individual scores that teachers who either are in a tested subject or in charters that are implementing a portfolio or the URS, they will get individual growth scores. They will have their LOEs calculated as a tested teacher, which is the top circle over here. Those teachers, even teachers that you are expecting to get those, must have a school-wide TVAS composite selected in TN Compass. Now, you put that in, that is what we consider a fallback measure in the event that for some reason the portfolio platform crashes and nobody gets a portfolio score. We are not going to hold teachers accountable for something that they could not generate. So make sure that all of your teachers have a growth measure score in now. Getting these things in now will save you time next year at this time. Achievement measure selections, they are basically the same as they have been before. Every teacher must have an achievement measure selection. We've talked about the types. There's the state assessments, off the shelf, TVAS composites, graduation rate, ACT, early post-secondary, and industry certifications. They need to align as closely as possible to what a teacher teaches. And you need to set the criteria when you make these selections. TVAS is the only thing that does not need the criteria. You need to set the criteria so that you know next year when you're trying to put these scores in, what the score is. Are they going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? So if you're using state assessments, you're going to want to scale that. Achievement measure selections, the categories, TVAS district-wide growth may be used. The state assessments will include math, ELA, social studies, and science, and they also include the alternative assessments, MOS and TCAP Alt. Off-the-shelf assessments are intended to measure achievement for teachers in non-tested grades and subjects for evaluation purposes. So those are really intended for somebody that's in a non-tested grade or a subject. Graduation rate is an appropriate measure for your high school teachers. ACT assessments are required as a post-secondary readiness. So all of your high school students have to take the ACT. That would be an appropriate measure. Our early post-secondary exams provide opportunities for students to earn the post-secondary college credit while they're in high school. So dual credit courses can be used. The percentage of students who either take those classes or take those exams or pass the exams. Personally, I would go with passing. Industry certifications are used through the CTE programs, and you can use the number of industry certifications earned by students in your schools. High school, those would be for high school teachers. So setting the achievement measure criteria, the administrators and teachers need to work together to set these targets to make sure they are specific, measurable, and attainable within 1 year. As I said before, TVAS does not require that. When you're setting your measures, remember a level 3 is the at expectations for what you expect for a year's performance. So our AMOs are annual measurable objectives. They're targets that the department generates for schools. Essentially, it's saying that Based on what you did last year, we expect 3 to 5% increase for the next year. And that is the percentage that is used for an AMO. You don't have to use the exact AMO targets that are given by the department. Those are not out yet, so you can figure those on your own. I would scale it no more than 3 to 5% using those the prior year scores. You'll only get those for state assessments. So if you're using an off-the-shelf measure, you need to look at where your students were at the end of the prior year on that assessment, and that percentage needs to be in the 3 range. We've talked about entering missing measures. The most efficient way to do it is in the import wizard. I've linked the instructions here. They're also linked earlier in the presentation. But to use the import wizard, it's the same. You go to the same spot, no matter what you're doing. If you're importing data, you go to the import wizard. For this one, you would choose the growth and achievement measures. This is going to be the selections. You're not putting scores in here. Hit continue. You're in the 23-24 school year. Continue. Choose your school. If you want to do all of your schools at one time, you would click the button for your district. Click Generate a Template. It's going to generate a template. There are 2 tabs at the bottom. You have the template and you have all of the available measures. So you will see your teachers' names, license numbers, if they're PYE. You can see all of these are zeros because there's no ID put there. On the second page, the measures, if you filter column B, I would start with achievement if you're putting in achievement measures. Filter it to achievement measures. There are a ton of measures on this sheet. You have to filter it to achievement measures, and this is just a screenshot. This is not all of them. So if you want to use your school-wide literacy as an achievement measure, your TVAS school-wide literacy as an achievement measure, you would go on this list. We see TVAS here, school-wide overall literacy. So the number is 120. That is the T Encompass ID, and then you've got your school-wide overall. So you would go back. So you would go back here. You would put 120 in the T Encompass ID, and then you would copy the name school-wide literacy there in the column I. Once you have finished your spreadsheet, save it again. Leave the name the same. Go back to the import wizard, back to the growth and achievement measures import, and click I already have a template, and click continue. Guidance for achievement measures are on the team website. Also under achievement, there is the achievement measure worksheet that lists all of the available measures for you. It is a resource for you to use. There's a fillable one if you want to have teachers actually fill them out for you, or if you want to fill them out for your teachers. Okay, it's all about the data. So we want to talk just a minute about LEA contacts. In T Encompass, there is a place for you to put contacts so we know who to contact for various things that our office does. So to enter contacts or to change contacts, if somebody changes during the year, you go to the Administration tab in T Encompass. You're going to scroll down under LEA Settings. It says Settings, and you're going to select LEA Contacts. That will open up where you will put a name, the contact type, email, and a phone number. And then you have to hit Save. So this is an example. I would put my name in. If the person is a contact for more than one thing, you can do those all at one time. So instead of having to do 3 entries for portfolio, entry for portfolio, an entry for URS, and an entry for diff pay, I can do it all at once. Email address and a phone number. Hit Save. Then you can keep going to add other contacts with other people until you have them all there. It is very important that we have all of these contacts. There are some that say for districts only. That means you don't have to do that. It's a charter school. But we really need these contacts. This is how we will get information to you about, this is where we send our evaluation configurator newsletter. It's where we send, how we send emails to you about charter school office hours or our regular office hours. So please make sure those are correct. This is a list of some of the things that are there. We've got directors of schools, superintendents, designee. These are all our people that we have to contact from time to time. So please take a look at that and make sure they're correct. We have the team website. The team website has been updated. Micah, would you like to talk about this? You're on mute.
I apologize. Sure. Do we want to stop the, we had talked about possibly
jump out of
stopping
this?
and going to the team website.
Are you, what? Okay, I've got to stop sharing. Start again. Hold on.
And
Sorry.
I can share my screen if you want.
Okay, you want to share yours? Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Are you able to see my team website?
I can.
Okay, so this is our homepage, and on our homepage, a couple of things that I want to bring your attention to is down here under recently released. You can find any of our documents that we have updated or newly released documents. So like if you're having issues with T-Encompass, we have just published quick guides in this section, so you can find those quickly here. And also those monthly evaluation configurator emails that Amy was talking about sending, you can also find those published here when those are sent out. Up here at the top are our tabs, and we have created a tab for the Tennessee charter schools. So when you click on this tab, it'll bring you to the charter school evaluation timeline. It is based off of the evaluation timeline, but I have pulled out information just pertaining to charter schools. Now, on this chart, you will see the due date. So you can look and see what's due for the upcoming month. It'll tell you who it pertains to. So it could be all charter schools need to do this, or it could just be charter schools who use the team rubric for their observation model. So make sure you check out who it pertains to and what needs to be done by that due date. We will also provide any information, so links to where you can read up about what you're supposed to do, resources on how to complete, such as entering in your evaluation scores. It talks about the T-Encompass user guide, your evaluation configurator monthly office hours that we conduct. You can also come to those, and those are linked here. And then if you have any questions, these contact emails are in this last column for you to contact us for anything that you might need. Also, to keep in mind on the tabs up here, office hours. This will be posted in office hours, and it'll be posted on this evaluation timeline. So on this page, so that you can go back and rewatch this, or if you happen to miss one of our charter meetings, then you can come back and watch it at a later time. So we will post this recording onto the website, and you can find it either under office hours or on the charter school webpage. If you are using the team rubric, we have a fantastic resource for training your teachers and administrators. So administrators, evaluators, are usually go through or have to go through the team training in order to be certified to evaluate. And so we've had that training, but now we have added a video library for the team general educator rubric. And what it is it is a slide deck that can be used for PLC meetings. It can be used for full faculty meetings in order to better understand the team rubric and the indicators on the team rubric. So we have the instruction domain that has been split up into the different indicators. And so if you want your teachers to focus on standards and objectives, then you can choose to download the standards and objectives slide deck, and it'll give you a presentation with videos and explanations about the indicators. It also comes with a facilitator preparation guide. So if you are facilitating this presentation or this training, you can download this as well. And it'll give you pointers on questions to ask, how to make it engaging, how to get your instructors, your evaluators involved in the training. And at the end of each of the slide decks, there is a QR code or a link that'll have a culminating activity that'll take them and they can discuss their learning for the day, or and any feedback about the slide deck. And if you would like to request that, you can email team questions and we can send you that feedback from your participants in the training. And anything else that you may need as far as evaluation, statute and policy, growth measures, portfolios, those can all be found on the team website. So this is for everyone, not just those who use the team rubric for evaluations or for observations. This is for everyone who does evaluations. Any other questions or anything? I'm going to hand it back to you, Amy.
Thank you. Do any of you have any questions about finalizing LOEs or uploading any information before? We've got one other thing we want to talk about. If you have any questions, if you'll hang on to the end, then you can come off mute when we will answer any questions that that you have. I have another team member with us today, Miss Sarah Brown, and she takes care of educator recognition, and she'd like to talk to you all a few minutes about that.
Hi, everybody. I am Sarah Brown. I am the coordinator of educator recognition. So all of the teacher of the year, supervisor of the year, principal of the year, RISE, and what else do Bilkin, PAPES, all of those. I am your contact for those programs. I'm going to drop a link actually into the chat so you can have access to it. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the upcoming programs that will be, that didn't link like I wanted it to, but that's the link to the educator recognition webpage. And it just links to all of our programs. The big ones coming up with the due dates are the teacher of the year, the supervisor of the year, and the principal of the year. And the eligibility for those, the teacher of the year is for any teachers that have been teaching full-time for 3 years. So if you are, if a teacher is your teacher of the year for your charter, you may absolutely submit for those. The link is should be in here. It's not updated yet. I will get that. I can share that with you. But you would submit to your teacher of the year. The principal of the year, that date is December 1st. The principal and supervisor of the year is December 17th. After that, I will email this out. Absolutely. I will talk to the website people again. I will get on that again.
And Sarah, we can also put this on the charter webpage with the recording, if that will help.
Yeah, that would definitely help. Unfortunately, the teacher of the year website is not, like, we cannot control that. So it's at the whim of when things get done, unfortunately. But I will share the applications with you. I can share the link with you. And so just 3 years for your teacher. And then for your supervisor, it's 5 years in education. And then for a principal, it's 3 years. So, but I would just submit those and they can start the process. We'd love for them to be included in the process. Any questions? I'm sorry, that was not as helpful as they are included in public school, all of the public school awards. Any other questions?
Chantel, I see your question about requesting access. Can you come off mute and clarify that question? I'm not sure.
It's not been updated in the web page, so I'm gonna have to send that out. I had requested and we're gonna have to.
Got it.
Okay. Thank you.
On the team website, though, I'm able to post things onto that website. And so we'll make sure that it's on the charter page. We don't have control over the department page, though.
Hey, any questions? Feel free to come off of mute to ask, or you can drop them in the chat.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. We're going to recess in the hallway right now, so there might be some background feet that you hear. I have some questions just specific to my school. Is now the time to ask those, or should I follow up separately about those?
I
I'll
think
go
you're
ahead
right now.
and stop our recording and then.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm also happy